good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our App Makers Tour of Europe. So after Romania, France, and Germany, we're now organizing our fourth event in Italy. So thank you very much for joining us. The European institutions are currently discussing the Digital Markets Act, the DMA, a new law which is aiming to regulate large online platforms acting as gatekeepers, such as the app stores. And this is particularly important for our members, small developers, as they rely on such platforms to exist, to grow, to innovate, while being at the same time platforms themselves. So if they do not qualify as gatekeepers, app ecosystems are extremely interdependent, and new obligations foreseen in the text imposed on these platforms will probably affect all businesses that do business with these platforms, including tech SMEs.
Your initiative is very welcome and extremely valuable to ensure a constructive exchange among app developers and innovative tech SMEs and startups and decision makers. In general, our objective is precisely to favor small operators, SMEs and startups, as well as consumers, as the practices I mentioned are only some of the unfair practices that do not allow a fair digital environment where every operator can thrive. Given how delicate it is to touch upon the specificities and the diversities of digital markets and digital services through horizontal provisions, the debate is still ongoing. A problem and a question, a situation that we also have with the DSA, probably even in a bigger extent. I appreciate your concerns about possible unforeseen trickle-down effect of burdens that would impact SMEs, but I'm confident that there are mechanisms in the regulation that would intervene if and when this risk presents in itself. For example, in the opinion that was adopted in jury, which is quite the juridical committee of the parliament, which is a quite good text, there are a number of provisions to further protect business users and enhance their role and participation in reporting, and in particular in view of the regulatory dialogue. So to conclude, I think it's, so for this overview, I think you should read the positions of the parliament also from the negotiating position, because we need to be able to reach some result when we will have to compromise with the governments. And thanks for, as I said, your clear concerns, because I would say they are our same. We don't want to create an extra burden for those that instead needs to be helped to be able to grow, thrive, and be part of a competitive and innovative environment for businesses.
I think this new directive, the DMA, has many interesting points, and in general, the aim behind the directive is the right one. I think the fairness of the digital market is something important also for us. Our concern is hard to change something that works very well at the moment into something that's more open without breaking some balance. So it's important that this is done in the right way. It should be done carefully in order to put the right attention to support especially startups and especially small businesses that can find a very easy point of entry point in the digital market by using these platforms.
I have, as an antitrust lawyer, I cannot but comment on what Mr. Benifei said, which corresponds, of course, to the traditional view as to why the DMA is necessary, because the antitrust rules are deemed not to be sufficient to cope with the situation. As an antitrust lawyer, I don't fully agree with this statement, because I think that if you look at what is happening in the last few years, there has been a lot of antitrust activity in the digital arena, not only by the Commission. You know that most of the large GAFAM companies are subject to a plurality of investigations by the Commission in all those areas which are covered by the DMA, but also by national authorities. We see a lot of activity in Germany, even in Italy, in France. So the antitrust authorities are really strengthening the enforcement of the antitrust rules with respect to the digital markets. So I think there is an effort to improve to improve the antitrust enforcement. Article 6 is maybe more extensive than what so far the antitrust authorities have done, but Article 6, on the other hand, has a problem because the definitions of those obligations is so vast, is so imprecise, that honestly, it's going to be very difficult to cope. Indeed, the DMA itself provides for a further specification by the Commission of those obligations, because honestly speaking, they are so broadly defined that it's very difficult to consider how in practice they're going to be applicable.